What's up, everybody? Bobby Foster here. We're back with another episode of Foster the Conversation. We got Brandon with us, aka 20 Days of June. Super excited, super excited. But before we get to the conversation, make sure to subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. Leave a like, leave a comment, a review. All of that super helpful. And to help this keep going, it would be amazing if you could subscribe to the Patreon. I have a ton of content on there. It's only $3 for everything. That would just be so amazing if you could support that way. I would truthfully appreciate it. And yes, we have Brendan here today. We were already chopping it up a little bit before we started recording.
Just a little bit. We had to stop talking.
Yeah, because the conversation was already getting good. So, let's just start off with, this whole thing is based on music. This podcast kind of conversations around music. So let's just start with currently 2022. Where's your passions at? What's your kind of like favorite artists right now? Favorite songs right now? Like what's going on?
I am motivated by finding out what moves the artist. You know what I mean? That's why I'm always like digging to find out what really moves the artist. And if I can find the heart of that, I can appreciate the music. So 2022, the only things that are sticking to me are things that kind of like have like a heart in it. I want to know what's going on with the art. That's my thing. So it's like right now, City of Gods with Kanye. I know Kanye's not handling, I said this on my Patreon, I know he's not handling the divorce perfectly, but just hearing him to be able to like have a point, it kind of takes us back to why My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy and 808s moves culture is because we knew what was going on with them.
For sure. 100%.
Do we have a problem? I talked about it also on my Patreon, but it was sonically and lyrically, I feel different. Lyrically, I love it because Nicki's going for round 2. Yeah. Like it's clear. I think people think she's going to be nice lady. I don't think so. I think she's waiting for a reason to go round 2 because that's what the song is about. That's what she's saying. And I think that's why she wanted to leave with it. And that's why it was first. Okay. So I love the stories of the lore of my favorite artists because they're like my superheroes in my head. So that's how I feel.
So, okay. Interesting that you bring up Kanye because, Kanye's been in the news a lot this week. So like Genius came out today, today, the documentary, can't remember. And, I was really excited to watch that. But like Kanye's shenanigans have been a lot for me. So I actually haven't listened to City of Gods yet. But I feel like I do know what you're talking about because I felt the same way with Donda, right? Like it felt like there was an actual purpose to what he was doing with the record. Like there seemed to be like a lot of heart behind it. And so I definitely know what you're talking about when it comes to that. And also like in talks I've had with other people, what you're talking about, a lot of people feel like is missing in a lot of music nowadays. That kind of like intention and purposefulness and that heart behind the music. What are some, I know you just said City of Gods, but like what are some other artists or some other songs where you're kind of like feeling that behind the music?
I tend to catch it in little lines in music. I feel like the problem with music is that today there are no pop stars. So there's no like through line. Like pop always had both. Like pop always was about like Lady Gaga could have a catchy hook, but what she was saying resonated deep to the core fan. Nicki at one point was doing that too. And I feel like because there's no like linear line that goes through music anymore that, and pop, a lot of people think pop means white, but that's not true because Michael Jackson was the king of pop and he could have a song that was written and he was really talking his pain, but it didn't have to be it didn't have to be an album cut. Yeah. And I feel like that's the problem is people think hit records can't be soulfully impactful or you can't have a hook that means something. Like when I was a kid, I was in high school, but I played basketball growing up. So like but I would use music to fuel me. It's what I needed to get going because mentally I was having a rough time. I was around people that I didn't resonate with. But when I heard Lady Gaga in Marry the Night, which is sonically not a song that one would think would be my jam. I like EDM music, but she said, I'm a soldier to my own emptiness. I'm a winner. That resonated with me as a kid. That made sense. And it's those little pieces that pop is able to do both that is kind of missing. I feel like you can have a record that is soulfully impactful and it's top 40.
I agree with you. And I don't know if you agree with this specifically, but this was my experience. I experienced that with Lil Nas X's album with Montero. There was a lot of songs on there. I listen to that album all the time. I love that album. And there's just a lot of songs on there where it felt like, okay, like, yeah, this is catchy, but there's a lot behind this record. Especially like Dead Right Now, for example. Like I feel like that's like one of my favorite songs off the album, period. And it's like, just like even the moments where like you have like that chorus that comes through, you know what I'm talking about? Not the chorus, the choir that like comes through. Yeah. That part's really powerful to me. But okay, when it comes to that, you're saying like in 2022, that's something that you're searching for. What kind of sparked that?
Because it went away in 2017, and that is kind of what
you have a
made
date?
me.
Okay, wait. What happened in 2017?
2017 is when they, in my opinion, took music away from the artist and they started to put on the popular person, and that is when I started to feel like, but this music can't. And Cardi took a lot of it on. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't her that I felt like I took umbrage with. It was the system, because it was about putting on someone who was popular. And the music didn't resonate from her because it's not hers. So you can't, someone can come in and write a music about your life, but you didn't write it. That's Party and Torre, allegedly. Yeah. So I'm not going to be able to resonate with it from that place when I know it's not yours. And if you're not that person, that's okay. But I just put you in another space. I like my rappers. Rap to me is it's a sacred space because it's almost like our politics. They took the Black Panthers away from us, but they let us, we have leaders that still speak to us and speak to our needs and that's a sacred space to me, where you can hear Jay-Z say certain things that you know he can't say in certain rooms, but they're not listening to him. We are. Yeah. You know what I mean? They just hear rippity, rappity, rippity, rappity. We hear the message. And I think that's our code. That's our language. So I find that sacred. So I protect that. And in 2017, I felt like is when it started to just get weird. And that's when I would defend the sanctity of, at that time, it was female rap, because it was an untouched space at that time. Mm-hmm. Now it's different. It's here and there and all that. So,
I feel like that makes a lot of sense. I was, there's an amazing hip hop documentary series on Netflix. I think it's called Hip Hop Evolution, I believe. Mm-hmm. You've seen that?
I've heard of it. I didn't watch it, but I've heard of it. Yeah.
I learned a ton about hip hop watching that. Like the guy that did it just got so many facts, and he did like a whole bunch of interviews with a bunch of legends and stuff like that. It's really awesome. So I would definitely recommend you watch it, and everybody else. For sure. Hip hop. But like one thing that they were talking about in one of the episodes was like hip hop was kind of like the news of the community, of like the Black community, because like you don't see what's going on the news, like what's actually happening. And so like you would get it from Nas, you would get it from Jay-Z, you would get like stuff like that. And I feel like that is totally missing. And it's not even just hip hop that's missing that news aspect, because ever since this pandemic happened, I have been like, where is the album that is giving voice to our experience of this pandemic? Like, where is it? Like, where's the music? Where's the album?
Because we thought, all of our artists are off. They in there cooking. I know we're suffering, but they cooking. It's all right. They in the lab. No, they weren't. They were being people. They were settling down and realizing, oh, wait, I'm rich. If I don't work as hard, I'm still rich. And that is why you're seeing a lot of them kind of feel like, I actually like moving at a little slower pace. I don't want to tour the world. Rihanna's like, man, y'all can get this album later, or I could have this baby. There are people who are out there, though, that want to work, but I feel like we are at a major, people forget we're at the beginning of a decade still because of the way we rolled into it. We're still at the beginning as to who's going to be who. The pieces are still moving. The industry is not really that alive and popping. Everybody's still kind of moving. So we're in a transitional space, but I'm really interested in like fourth quarter or at least summer 2022 to beyond, because there's certain people who aren't moving that it doesn't make sense. There's like Drake not moving doesn't make sense. Cardi not moving doesn't make sense. Nicki's documentary not being even announced. Certain things just don't make sense. Things aren't ready.
Like you're saying, no one's moving. You know what I'm saying? Like
they're occupying space.
Got canceled. Yeah. Like,
so I feel like we're digging where we're not supposed to dig. Like Drake was looking at everybody, including me, that did a CLB review. Like, you reviewed that? Okay. Well, that ain't the one, but okay. You know what I mean? Like,
and then you have like rumors of like Olivia even wanting to drop another album before she goes on tour. Like same thing. You hear that about Ariana. You hear like The Weeknd did. He dropped another album before he even got to tour. And it's like, I maybe people are still waiting for that. These artists, they got a tour to make money. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but I feel like the pieces are all over the board because the original point you brought up was the album. And what does the album mean? And then that's what I've been doing on my Patreon. It's like, what does the album mean? So what does the single mean? So what does any of this mean? And in my opinion, Beyonce was trying to tell us when they were like, you put out singles and they burn out. Nobody's making albums. You're putting out singles and you burn out. She tried to say it because she understood what streaming was going to do. And there was a gray area around 2015 where there was a stalemate. It was only Spotify. But after Nicki had made a big stink about Spotify stealing the pink print, it felt like there was no Apple Music yet.
Okay.
There was no Apple Music yet. It was just Spotify. We were only streaming really on Spotify. So then Jay-Z, knowing that Apple Music was going to be a thing, have all these artists come together and they sign with Tidal, basically saying this is going to ruin the industry, impact our creativity, and the people coming in next are going to make music to pay into this system when we want to pay artists. I signed up for Tidal then. A lot of people did not. What happened was, and this person will never take the blame for cracking the industry, was Drake made a mistake trying to take on Jay-Z. And instead of signing with Tidal, he signed a deal with Apple Music.
Yeah.
Now there are 3 players in the market. And everybody starts buying who they're going to go with, Apple and Tidal. And you start seeing people incentivizing our market share over the creative process, over the album. Then that makes the artist have to make a single that can compete, that can go, that can be play into playlisting. And it has scattered the creative pieces all over the board because there are so many different ways. Then there's YouTube Music pops up after Leor leaves there. And it just kind of went bananas after streaming. And Jay really with Tidal, that's what they were trying to do. And I know because I wrote a research paper on it for college that I lost when my Mac crashed when I got home. But it's not the point. I wrote a research paper for it in college as to what was going on and what Jay-Z was trying to do. So that's why I just remember.
I've never heard that perspective before. I'm sure a lot of people haven't. I mean, that's really interesting.
They tried to stop streaming.
It's like they had foresight for that. Like him and Beyonce had been in the industry for a long time before that, so it would make sense that they have,
because they had just gotten control over LimeWire for a couple years. They had just contained it. They contained it, and then streaming just made music free again. And that's unfortunate.
Very discounted price for sure. Like basically for nothing. I agree with that. Like the fact that we can pay $10 to have access to like every song known to man.
And with the that's when stan culture kind of snuck in, because you needed to have a base that would go out there and buy who's going to buy that record? Who's going to buy that record?
Really took off.
Right after LimeWire cut off, it was a time where you had bases. The Beehive was storming stores. They were going to buy those records. And like the Barbs stormed 375,000 copies via Amazon, via iTunes Store, and it leaked. Like they mobbed and bought. I mean, even talk about, do we have a problem? How many Pure? Over 100,000?
A lot, a ton.
Pure? Pure. Like to be able, I don't care what I put out. I don't care what I put out.
One copy too.
I can separate 100,000 people from their money, from their cash. Is a big piece of market share. That's what stan culture really meant at the time. But now a lot of stans still stream. They don't need to be a part of the street team. Streaming just makes it so convenient. I'm giving my money to Spotify, not to the artist. So then that makes the artist has to please the label again. And that's ruining music.
Do you feel like there's any responsibility on the artist's behalf to play into a streaming world, but still bring that level of, say, a cohesive album or meaning to the music or whatever? Like, do you think artists just have to adapt instead of trying to live in a world that once was?
I think it's unfair to ask, but they owe it to their fans because of how much the fans put into really trying to drive it home. And I think they owe it to try. But then that's why you saw people like Nicki putting out Bed and Rich Sex. And Drake will put out Hotline Bling, but then he won't put out something else. Try to feed everybody because they are the pop stars. But it takes a lot. It's a lot. It is asking a lot.
I definitely think it's possible. However, I did have like I had a benchmark that I was waiting for to see how dead, if you will, albums really were as far as like consumer listening habits, right? And I was like, I want to see what happens when Adele drops. Like that was my benchmark, because we all know like what 25 did.
Me too. Yep, me too.
And I was so surprised how bad the sales were for 30.
I wasn't, because I listened to it.
I was surprised.
I listened to it.
Like 30?
It's mid. It's mid. Boo. It's mid. It's mid, which is another point I want to bring up to you.
Ooh.
And I know you probably gonna know this. I didn't resonate with it, but I think part of the problem is it is easier for maybe us to resonate with heartbreak than artists in happy places. And I think that may be part of the problem. And I think that's the thing is we get so like Mary J. Blige, when she's singing No More Drama, we entertained. But but when she's not going through it, everybody, you know what I mean? It's part of the human experience to kind of watch maybe for more of the negative. And that's part of my problem is that I would love to hear.
You thought 30 was a happy album?
No, I didn't think it was a 30 album. I think it was a happy album, but it lacked to maybe Rolling in the Deep. Like my favorite song from Adele is As All I Ask.
Interesting.
My favorite Adele song is All I Ask.
Heartbreaking. I found that album heartbreaking.
I can re-listen to it, but it didn't. There was something about it. The soul wasn't. Yeah. It's the soul. It may not even be the lyrics. It's the soul.
Because of my own personal experiences that I relate to it a lot. Just like, you know, I have a son. Like my parents got divorced when I was younger. So like the concept of like her making an album to leave for her son to kind of understand her emotions and where she's at, like going through the divorce, I thought was, and like My Little Love.
I don't have any kids.
Every time.
I don't have any kids. So there you go. There you go. It just went completely like past me. So I'm just like, then there you go.
My Little Love, which is this, I don't know if like you listen to it often or not, but My Little Love was the song with like her son, like had the skits going. When she was like talking, like that song gets me all the time. Like that's
my favorite. I like I used to not be a fan of the Kid record. I used to hate when an artist has a kid and they make the record. I'm just like, oh my gosh, because the kid, like when Tiana did it, I was like, no, it's a little cliche. Yeah. But I am very interested in hearing Nicki's because we haven't heard that from a woman in hip hop probably since Lauryn Hill To Zion. But that was an R and Will way. But that's my favorite. That's one of my favorite Lauryn Hill songs is To Zion. I also loved what did J. Cole say on the last album when he said his kid told me, I said, Dad, let go of my hand.
Let go.
That was like, because my best friend had just had a baby, so I was just like, I was just like tears.
Let Go of My Hand is an amazing song.
It's right. So it's like I do like the baby records. You know, but I think I go to Adele for more pain.
Yeah,
in my way relationship.
Because we're actually kind of bringing this full circle a little bit, talking about, you know, you were saying like Drake's commercial, like the whole like playlisting thing of playing through streaming. Something I was so mad about 2 albums in a row now. On Scorpion, I felt like he completely avoided the whole like son being outed to the world thing. Felt like he completely avoided it. He like had a couple of lines about it. The whole like I wasn't hiding the world or my son from the world. I was hiding whatever that line. And then like on CLB, even though the album's called Certified Lover Boy, I still thought we were going to get some level of how Drake has changed or whatever.
In my opinion,
some level of it.
How long have you been? How long have you been a fan of Drake? How long have you been like a Drake fan, like watching Drake lyrics?
Like the day he came out.
Right. Same. Because we're around, we're that target market where we had to listen to him. I'm like
28 and like he
same.
Dropped, yeah. So like I heard, I first heard him on Dedication 3 on that song Stuntin'.
Yeah.
Like Drake was featured.
Mine was Ransom.
The first time I heard him. So ever since then I was like, yo, this guy's awesome.
In my opinion, if you know Drake to the core of Drake, then you were watching when Drake had to prove to us that he was legit. And I've always said this, there's a piece of Drake that is afraid of not being where he is because he's been someone that we have looked at like, go home, Roger. So because of that, I think that if you even look at his comments after the Pusha thing, he turned his comments off and he never turned them back on. His comments are not public and haven't been public since that. Oh, wow. I think there is an embarrassment there for how it happened that it's not appropriate to speak on. And I don't feel like he wants to flat out lie and act like things went the way he wanted to. He lost an Adidas deal over that. It was going to be Adidon, and now he's trying to, because he's trying to go to checks because, you know what I mean? It's like this, a lot happened, and I just feel like it's a lot of negativity in his mind. And I feel like now he's just trying to patch it up with, I love my son, I love my son, I love my son, I love my son. Because even if you listen to a song like I'm Upset, that's about his mom. But then he has March 4th. Can't go 50-50. Can't go 50-50 with no hoe.
Oh! I thought you meant like Drake's mom. I was like, what?
No, it's about Adonis's mom. It's about Adonis's mom. It's
that makes sense. That makes sense.
He's gonna answer that question. So it's like March 4th. He tries to clean it up, and I think it was more important for him. Which is one. Speaking of Kid Records, I love March 14th. Mm-hmm. It's one of the best. It's one of the best pictures of. It's not perfect, but I'm going to try my best to make it perfect for you as a father that I could possibly see. And I feel like that's more important of a message for him to carry down to Adonis. And at the end of it, he said, we'll talk more when you hear this. I feel like that's a conversation for him and Adonis. And I don't know if he wants to let us in on that. And I feel like I'll respect that because he's told us really everything, a lot of everything. So I respect that. I'll respect that. I'll leave that for him.
I think, I guess it's, I guess my problem isn't the lack of kind of bringing up the situation like you're talking about. I guess it's just like, I would assume that the music would change in some capacity due to like, okay, like you're saying, we've been listening to Drake since like 2009, right?
Yeah.
It's like 13 years later. And the one critique I have of Drake is like, he's not growing with me. No, you know what I'm saying, like, that's what I feel like. His music has been the same target market since 2009, right?
But that's what Certified Lover Boy was about.
Well, yeah, I get that.
We gonna pair off, and we're gonna have families, and we're gonna get married, and we're gonna XYZ. He's basically telling you, I'm not getting married. Marriage ruins my career. I want to stay here in this lane, and he don't want to grow with us. He's saying that. It sucks, but that's what he's saying.
I guess you're right about that. Like,
that was the problem. That's what I said about CLB.
Yeah, I guess I didn't take it that way. I just kind of took that as his own personal like acceptance of who he is kind of thing. But that would make sense as far as like, okay, like that's also him announcing like
did you watch the interview with him and Elliot Wilson and B Dot? He did a Rap Radar, I think it was about a year ago in his house, and they were basically
decade of the artist of the decade interview.
I don't remember. They were in his house, but I remember
like Fancy House one.
And that's where I got that notion from, is when they asked, like, do you plan on settling down? Like, would you like slow your life down and like do the whole thing? And he was like, honestly, the lifestyle that I live just doesn't lend itself to a woman. And in order for me to stop it, he said she would have to be one hell of a woman. And in one of the songs, he said, you want to walk around naked in the kitchen without running into one of my niggas? That ain't the way we living. He want to live like that.
But like, relationship based though. Like he's 30. How old is he now? He's 33.
He's 34, maybe something like that. But that does pull your life. Like, look at how the relationship is affecting Kanye's music. Is my point. Is like, if you keep your life in one place, you can only create from a certain place. It's like that pulls your poles inside as to what even speaks to you. And I feel like that is a part of the problem. But also I feel like when you keep yourself comfortable, your music gets comfortable. So Drake is really inspired by hearing a sound on SoundCloud and putting an artist on and like putting, you know what I mean? And that's just kind of, where we're at. And that's why a lot of people don't take umbrage with Nicki's husband. But I like that we'll have music from a different place because she lives a life with him, and that brings new experience, and that's going to bring music like Yikes. That's going to bring Fractions. That's going to bring that cold New York chilly feeling. You know what I mean? You just got to know where your artist is at and what album you're going to expect. When Rihanna was in a bad place, we got Rated R. That made sense.
You bring up some very valid points. I guess, like everything you're saying, like I agree with 100%. I guess I had a level of delusion or hope, or maybe both, as far as like where I wanted him to be like in 2022, or I guess 2021 when he dropped CLB. I thought he was kind of reworking the album because of things that were going on, whether that was like personal life based, pandemic based, something like that. I thought that's why it got pushed back a good like 10 months.
We were confused as to whether we were getting a Drake album we were supposed to take in the lore or not. We didn't know whether it was going to be serious or not, but the label still wanted our participantship. So they still sold it as if it was that album. And it wasn't. And Drake obviously knew it wasn't. And he obviously knew he wasn't going to tour. If he was going to tour, it would have been announced with the album. Everything went the way it was supposed to be. But I also feel like with pop having no heart, you can hide in a way too sexy because it's streamable.
Oh, God, I don't want to talk about that.
But you can. But it's still good. But it just don't. It don't mean like that song. Nothing.
I don't like that song. I think it's Drake's worst single he ever dropped, in my opinion. I don't like that song at all.
You know, I can agree with you. It's still dance. I agree, but I could still dance. I get it. I fully get it.
People can vibe to it and all that kind of stuff, but that has to be the most. If we're talking about like the whole soul and passion and all, like,
very
that has to be the most,
very funny or die.
Even more to me than Tootsie Slide, because at least Tootsie Slide had a purpose of being a TikTok hit. Like, I listen to Tootsie. I love Tootsie Slide. Also, I find it hilarious. Like, in my Discord, I was like, "Do y'all know what Tootsie Slide is about?" Because everyone just thinks it's a dance song, and I was like, "This is a gangster record."
Hold on. Can we both admit, as people who look into lyrics, they don't know they are telling us what is happening, and y'all are not listening.
They're not.
They're not listening.
You know those like memes where it's like the lyrics and it has like a dark kind of part, and then it's like the beat and it's like this like fun cartoonish thing or whatever. That's Tootsie Slide right there, because he's literally talking about going to put a hit on somebody. Like,
it made Kanye look so shook when Kanye was like, "Those are directions to my house with a sicko mode." But it's really crazy, as two people who aren't rappers that speak. Joe Budden calls it rapper code. I speak rapper code. Like, I hear it. I hear what you were talking about. Like, most people listen. If they listen to "Do We Have a Problem" with Nicki, they would just be like, "Where's she going?" And I can clearly look at you and say, if y'all think this is going to be peaceful, nice lady, we're just looking for the ink to dry on whoever she signs on with Apple Music. Somebody's making trouble. Like,
wait, what do you mean by the Apple Music thing?
Well, she's not with Apple Music anymore for Queen Radio, so I think she's looking. Okay. So she's looking for a new home. So I'm just like, I think she's just waiting until a lot of things have to come together. So I don't even know technically if this was the lead single.
To put in place for the rollout, it seems like.
Do you think this was radio? I want to know your opinion. What do you think this is? Is this the beginning? Is this the first single? What do you feel?
Personally, I think she was testing the water. Personally, I think because "Do We Have a Problem" did so good, it might be on the album as just like on the regular track list, maybe on the deluxe or whatever. But I think I don't know if it's her or her new management or whatever, but things seem way more calculated this time around. And so it's really early for a single. It's like really early for a single, especially like with how people are doing that nowadays. You know, you put out your single, album comes out a couple weeks later or whatever. And then we all know the documentary is still coming out. So I assume the documentary is dropping before the album.
Yeah, it would be used for promo. Probably like the 6 weeks up to it, something like that.
Yeah, I would assume like the lead single of the album will be around the documentary, would be my assumption. Especially because also Nicki on her lead singles is always solo. It's always like a solo record. So I feel like, I don't know what this was. I think it was kind of just like for test the waters, what people want.
Do you think the budget shows that it was supposed to be something? Because the videos.
So, okay, that was also interesting. The lack of the video for Bussin' was very interesting. Don't know why that happened, because especially since the snippet had the video.
Because the video was, it was obviously, she said she had Bussin' for months, and then they did "Do We Have a Problem?" And obviously she was on hiatus, so she had time to say, we're going to go with this, and then go with the video and give the budget to "We Have a Problem" to flesh that out, rather than to flesh out Bussin', it felt. So then in the end, we'd be like, okay, within the budget for "Do We Have a Problem," I'm going to kind of shove Bussin' in there on the side. The problem with that is, with you and I both knowing, they put a lot, they gave the playlisting and all this. "Do We Have the Problem?" She did According and all that promo for that.
That was a lot.
You don't really see which song is going to do better. It's kind of going to be "Do We Have a Problem" by proxy, because you gave it the most, rather than which direction. So I don't really think they were, I feel like it was a step in that direction. And now we have to go with it, because she said only one's going to be on the album because Baby's expensive. So the choice has been made. It looks like, I wonder if we could have benefited from more of instead of testing the waters, to just come out like.
Well, when I say testing the waters, I didn't mean between "Do We Have a Problem" and Bussin'. Like, I just thought Bussin' was for fun. Like, she just like put it out as like a ode to her fans. Cause like "Do We Have a Problem" was very much, mainstream vibes, could be a hit record, you know, all that kind of stuff. So like, and you're saying like she put all the money and the promo behind that song. So like that was obviously her go-to record. I think Bussin' was just for like, you know, the Barbs and people that listen to her. It's like her rapping and everything like that.
Is it your go-to record? Is it your is it like
Bussin'
if you were because you know Nicki, if you were putting out a Nicki Minaj first single and you hear between the energies of what's going on,
do we have a problem all day?
You're going with that
all day
for her fan base.
Oh, for the fit. No, I think it has more
for her
general appeal.
For her, but does it?
100%. 100%.
Okay.
100%. I
think we'll see.
That Bussin' has for it going is like how short it is, which is, you know, a good thing to have nowadays for streaming. But I feel like everything about Do We Have a Problem is like more generally appealing to people.
Do you think you're her average fan?
Do I think I'm her average fan?
Do you represent her? Do you represent her average fan, her average demographic, the average person who just is moved by Nicki Minaj? Does a song that speak to you also speak to that person as a choice for a single? Not saying it could be recorded, could be on the album. Do you feel like you're the average person? Because if I'm thinking about it like that, and if I'm thinking, hey, and I say this about this Nicki all the time when I speak to her, I say, when you go to the Nicki Minaj store, what do you expect? Do We Have a Problem to me is a song that, of course, is going to resonate with you and I and her husband and the people in the room. But does it resonate to the average Nicki fan that wears the music out? Maybe not. It may average. I don't know if no matter what type of music she creates, if the average man is going to wear her music out. I don't know. And I feel like if we're going to focus, I would rather her focus on something more up-tempo that isn't more than just a record that just is like Young Boy or Roddy Ricch or Rod Wave or Young Blue, because those guys, they stream and their fan bases are men that want to stream men. There's not a lot of men still. The market, there's not a lot of men who just want to stream women like that. There's just not. There's a lot of misogyny and consumerism as I feel. So I might have gone with something that was just more up-tempo. I feel like Do We Have a Problem was track 2, but I feel like something more up tempo. Even Chun-Li was hard. It came out. It came hard. What was the other one that I like? Anaconda. Sure, maybe that was too pop, so we don't want to go there. But even Good Form, when the Barbs were asking, lead with good form. But just slam it. Bomb. Hold up. Okay, hold up. Let's start from there. I feel like because when I first saw Nicki Minaj live, the first song I heard, and what made me jump up out of my seat was Roman's Revenge.
Really?
Like, yeah, it was like that. It wasn't the first song of hers that I liked, but it was it was how she presented herself to me in the pop space. It was when she came out with Britney Spears. It was Roman's Revenge. It was dum 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 dum. It was that energy. It was that hunger. She wanted to eat Kim alive. She was mad. That is what I like about Nicki personally. Chill Nicki, but I feel like she's different now, and I feel like with her husband, she's a queen pin now, and it's a different rage. It's different. We are learning this new Nicki, but I know what I wanted. Energy.
So I'm trying to step out of my own personal likes about music or whatever, because I always like the slower Nicki songs more. I just like slower songs in general more.
Fair.
But I'm over here, I'm thinking, so are you saying that because of like when it comes to women artists or the misogyny stuff you're talking about, are you saying when it comes to men, are you saying like they're more allowed to do the slow stuff than women?
I'm saying those men who listen to Rod Wave, men who listen to NBA YoungBoy, men who listen to that, those streaming guys, at the end of the day, them guys, those are the same guys, every time Meg tweets, they'll tweet ratio. Why be better? They don't want to hear her. And I don't know how to say that, but by and large.
But you're saying they would want to hear her if it was like a hard record.
I just don't think that. I think that music is best. They'll hear her on a feature verse from that. But do I see them wanting to just listen to a Nicki Minaj song personally? I just don't see the average fan even wanting to give it the chance. And I feel like the Barbs did their job. The Barbs did their legwork. The Barbs bought 100,000 copies of that record. The Barbs did exactly what the Barbs would have done regardless. But I feel like if that record was a record that someone other than the Barbs would have worn out, then maybe we could have put a better foot forward. But I also don't really think it matters as much as it matters to the fan who really wanted to go number one.
Yeah.
I'm just happy that I somewhat enjoy the lyrics that I'm hearing. Like I like the lyrics, but I feel like, once again, as we talked to in the beginning, the lyrics and the tempo and the pop culture of it all, and what we build on and where we put the money, to me, always has to match to make a pop run. And then pop is not a genre as much as it is a benchmark, numbers. Okay. And that's kind of what I mean.
Like, she should have just leaned into Do We Have a Problem more?
I think that if I looked out, I think Nicki said that she's been recording for years, which is also another umbrage of mine, because that means the span. Queen was recorded for too long. So Hard White was about 2017 and Coco Chanel was about 2016 and Coco Chanel was about 2018. It was just really weird subject matter wise. But if I heard everything that I know she's come up with, I don't know if Do We Have a Problem was just the sound that I would go for Nicki Minaj lead single. To me, that's track 3 and it's fire record. I don't know if I lead with it. So I was wondering whether you thought it was a lead single or not. But then why would you put that type of a budget behind something that's not a lead single?
I better understand what you're saying now. Okay. Right. So with that, like kind of what I was saying before, no, I don't think it's the lead single. But the question is why she put so much money and promo and everything behind it. That is a very interesting question. I mean, maybe it is the lead single, right? But I wouldn't imagine that's her lead single either. Like, I agree with you. I wouldn't imagine that's her lead single either. But maybe she sees how things are going, lead single or not. You want to have a very, awesome visual, to go with the song, because like that's the wave right now, whether it's your lead single or not. Like more,
it's the only way,
right? Like look at Doja. Like every video she does is just like ridiculous, right? Or like even Cardi, because she hasn't dropped the album, but like
especially right? Cardi,
like with Up and with how am I blanking on the song with Meg?
WAP.
Yeah, WAP. Okay, yeah, like with those two. She wasn't planning on dropping an album, but she had a crazy video to go with.
But those are Colin Tilly videos, and Colin Tilly and Nicki Minaj worked together long ago on The Boys in 2020. Like, you know what I mean? And but that's part of all that. That's also part of my umbrage. Yeah, but Nicki created the wave, and I don't know if Benny Boom gives me the video that I need in that.
So like you wanted like just a better video.
I wanted a different director to give us a view of Nicki Minaj, maybe that we haven't seen yet. The video's not even up in 4K. The video should be in 4K. My PS5 wanted to play that video. He wanted to see Nicki in 4K, and he told me he couldn't do it, and that affected us. Yeah. We fought that night. It's certain things with better that I take umbrage with, where I'm just like, I want Nicki to just to not focus on other things. But I think one thing people aren't seeing is that it was very important for Nicki to work with Lil Baby. I don't know why that is, but it was very important. And setting up business relationships and being on good terms with Lil Baby and P is a big part of what I'm saying. Is I feel like it's chess. The pieces are just moving.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like a lot of things have been super calculated.
She need, her and Baby and her and QC, they need to do some business. Making up with Carisha and JT, that's doing business. That's cornering my allies. This is gang war. And this is what I be talking about. Is she's fighting different. She's not fighting the way she used to. The pieces are moving in a chess way.
Yeah,
for real.
I agree with that.
So I think this is a slow burn, and I think we are seeing a plan maybe that we haven't seen before. But it's fun to hypothesize along the way. It really is. I'm having a blast guessing why any of this is happening, because they're testing new strategies.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I was saying. Like with testing the waters too. I think it was like, let's put this out. Let's do these interviews. Let's, go with this sound, Lil Baby's popping right now, or even like background strategic things you're talking about. Let's see like where the audience is at with it. Like Drake did the same thing before CLB, right? Like when he did Laugh Now, Cry Later. Like that was a test record. And then like he was even leaking his own music to like see which songs people were vibing with. You know what I'm saying? Like I think Nicki's been out the game for a very long time. Like she's been doing features, but I think like you kind of do before you put out an album. Like it's a good idea to like put out a feeler here, a feeler there. You know what I mean?
And that's good. Like, but her sound though. Yeah. Her sound. Protect your sound. You haven't done a while, but protect your sound. But that sound is not, if it's not the Nicki sound, it's going to take a while for the fan to resonate that as the Nicki sound, because I felt like it was a sound where it was like, I can understand if that was Lil Baby featuring Nicki Minaj, but I would have loved to have seen Lil Baby either catch up and join the Nicki Minaj world or find something else to do.
Is
like,
that fair to say? Because like, how would you even know what a Nicki sound is in 2022? Like how would we even know that?
I could pretty much guess. I could feel like I could hear it. If I could explain it to you, I feel like when Nicki rollouts, when Nicki pops the cork, when Nicki goes away and Nicki comes back, we know we're coming back with fire, and this was steam, and that's the difference. So
you're talking about more just like the energy behind the record.
Absolutely, fire.
That makes sense.
That's what I
like,
mean.
I'm thinking like you know, the thing I kind of liked about it was she did kind of take what was going on, like the current sound of things and how it's going. And I felt like she did kind of put her own spin on it. But at the same time,
she did it better to me.
I loved it. Like, I was like, oh, this is like what Nicki...
If anybody takes umbrage with the sound of that record, play your Spotify top hip hop right now. I did it yesterday to check myself a little bit. That record is better than a lot of the melodic records that are out. Sonically, it's way better. It's way better. However, to me, that's just a different genre with a different number projection, and it's a different market.
Yeah.
And that's all. It's just a completely different thing. Whereas we know Doja's out here being Roman's little sister. So it's like, that's why her numbers look that way. Get Into It, was that way for that on purpose. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just about knowing the type of music. She makes so many different types of music, and so does Drake. But it's about knowing what the projections are going to be just for the genre. Just your expectation for the genre. And we'll see. I want to see how this record streams long term. And then that conversation tells itself. Is it going to be one of those records like a Young Boy or a Rod Wave record that takes over YouTube music for months and months and weeks? Is it going to be? Because if that's what it's meant to do, then that's the marker for the success, not the number one.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the difference, is the goalpost is just different with those types of records. So it's to see her put that type of budget behind a record that is played that way is cool, but it's a different game. And I want the stand to understand that you're not going against Get Into It, with this record.
For sure. I agree with that too.
You're not.
I agree with that too.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, in stan culture, there is like such a fascination of obsession, like going number one and everything like that, right? But I feel like the true success, longevity, right, like does come from like the streaming world nowadays, in my opinion. Like
it has to.
Yeah, like with Planet Her, for example, like that album's still getting streamed like wild, still to this day. Like it's been like a top 5-10 album since the day it came out when it comes to streams. And I feel like this is what's really interesting to me. And this is what I want to see when Nicki drops.
Okay.
Because the music market shifted like since Queen, in my opinion, where now like legitimate, like just hip hop songs can be, you know, top of the charts, a lot of replay value, all that kind of stuff. You know, hip hop's number one genre in the world now. And so, you know, she doesn't necessarily have to sacrifice in any real capacity to be mainstream anymore. Not like when she did like Starships, for example. So it'll be really interesting to see, because she even said like she was going full circle, kind of going back to writing music, how she did like during her mixtape days and stuff like that. It'll be really interesting to see if like she gives us like a hip hop record. You know,
and I
like that would be really interesting.
I agree. I agree with everything you're saying, but I believe that there is a pop component to hip hop that is unspoken of that we do need to understand. Good Form is true to the roots, but it has a bop. You know what I mean? She's got some hard samples that she ain't touched. If the label could pay for it, Nicki need to come out with something Queens. You want to go Queens? Then give me the Quiet Storm sample. Buy it right off of Mobb Deep. Buy it off of my, do it. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to go there, then go there. Go back to touching beats that no one else will touch. And wreck it and really go. You know what I mean? I want to go fully in that direction. See, you don't have to go melodic hood though. It's more than one way to go with that.
For sure.
So I just feel like I'm waiting for Nicki to see what she's going to do in that capacity to storm. I like Bussin'. I thought Bussin', what I liked about it most was it was just, do we have a problem? The video was so long. When Bussin' came on at the end of it, you were just like, You went straight to the top. But you see what I mean? How you go to the top floor? If we never heard, do we have a problem? And the first thing we heard from her was ding, 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 ding. Man, my connect, and we would have went straight. We would have just went to the top floor. And that's what I'm talking. We look at it so because she controls the needle on a genre as to what the rest of it's like. She's pointing to the way. We are like, it's a big moment, and it's a lot of pressure on her. For sure. So that's all. But I mean, I need you. I need you right now. That's very I need it. So all I'm saying is with that energy, with that, she want to go Queens. That's cool. But don't go, do we have a problem? Make that label pay for that sample. Give me something. Touch something you're not supposed to. Make Lil' Kim mad. Like, let's go. You know what I mean? Like, let's dig into the lexicon and make something that's iconic and impactful for culture in a way, because I feel like she's a legacy artist anyway. And she needs to play into making the album that's going to leave that legacy. I don't know if streaming music or the music today is leaving an imprint, a real imprint, even if it goes number one. The imprint, the songs that go number one they don't touch the bottom anymore. Nicki has the capacity and the ability to do something that's going to impact hip hop and leave it there forever. Yeah. She's one of the few people that can really add to the fabric. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what's the difference is. So I wanted to take that. Like
gearing up for that. Like, the whole concept of like dropping this documentary, I feel like is adding a lot of the legacy aspect you're talking about. Cause like we're about to see a visual of her legacy, right? And we're going to see this and then we're going to kind of be expecting the album to add to that. So I feel like it adds a level of pressure there, or like at least expectation. Cause we can't just sit through and watch 15, like I'm sure she's going to go like way back in the day with the documentary. So like 15, 20 years of the journey and then get like a playlist album. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't see that happening.
I really hope in the documentary, what we see are a lot of conversations. I hope in the documentary we get to see, her make up with people that we don't know she's made up with yet. I feel like that's also in there, which is why they've been a little hush hush on who she's beefing with and who she's not. And I feel like a lot of that is still, I feel like a lot of those makeups are still going to be, I hope they are, that they are a part of that. I would love to see her talk to Drake a little bit, or how Drake is involved in the process. I think a lot of it's going to be about her creative process. And I'm excited to see all that, but I feel like all of that still becomes temporary when all we're left with is when you open that book, it's that pen. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I feel like that's what it's going to be. And I remember in the documentary, not the documentary, there was the My Time Now on MTV. That lady said she's known for being ubiquitous, but only in a flash. But how she's going to stay around is if she can open up and bare her soul a little bit and let us in there. That's what the album is really about. And I feel like if you go back to, which is why I went through on my Patreon, I went through all the albums, all the rollouts. She's always up against the same thing and always finds a way. I think we're just also anxious to find the way. And we are just all like going and just figuring out what it is. In my opinion, I think it would be fun to have the number one record. It'd be fun to have the Grammy or the X, Y, or the Z, but that doesn't really matter because at the grand scheme of it, when you have an album that is iconic, it doesn't matter. We speak about Control, SZA with reverence. We speak about Rihanna Anti with reverence because we knew what that meant for Rihanna. We speak about Lemonade with reverence. Yeah. We speak about Born This Way, Gaga.
Opposite way. Where like Kanye dropped, Yeezus. Yep. Like people were like, this is terrible. And like, even though.
But Yeezus still gave us Bound to, still gave us Blood on the Leaves.
No, I mean, people now think it's one of his better albums. But I'm saying like when it came out, people were trashing that album. People did not like, especially because that was the album also where J. Cole outsold him. I'm pretty like, it dropped the same day. Yeah. And like, it was like, oh man, like Kanye, like what happened? Like J. Cole just beat you out. Probably had the better album or whatever. Like that's what people
I get it. It sucks making the wave. You kind of get shot. Yeah, that's first one up the hill.
Like when you are ahead of the curve and you're trying to do something original or just different, like you are going to get critiqued heavily up front. It happens all the time. And like I think it was either on a reaction I did or a live or something when I was like, like Nicki gets a lot of hate now, right? But like later on, like when people see the originality and the doors she knocked down, all that kind of stuff, that won't be there anymore. Like it won't. It'll go away because like the legacy and the facts are undeniable. And like the truth always comes to light. So
people
like,
just like to see her operate in this space. Like, how do you feel about, okay, outside of Nicki Minaj, what other, because like I said, I feel like I personally, I'm a pop culture nerd, but I like the female rap space. It means so much to me because it's being stitched together in real time. Pop existed long before us. Like, we don't know what's going on with Michael and like all this stuff, but like we get to watch this industry be built. And so it's like, who are the other women that you enjoy?
Yeah.
And how do you feel like they operate, or can they add to the fabric when Nicki's not around? Because when Nicki's not around, something's missing. And that is what people want when Nicki comes, is to fill that void, because something feels like it's missing. But who else do you like? Who else do you feel like steps into that space?
I feel like my channel is still introducing me to a lot of female rappers. But the ones I've been put on, I classify Doja as a female rapper, even though a lot of people don't. But I classify her as a rapper. She raps on every single song she puts out, so she's a rapper to me.
But that's my thing with Doja, is that you see, we were talking about like an album that goes to the heart. We know that the heart of Doja is, and I'll say this, and I know a lot of people will be mad at me if they hear it. Doja Cat and Kendrick Lamar should see each other, and they could see each other soon.
What, like,
if she the same way, the same way when Nicki got in that room with Kanye, she was ready for Monster. If I throw Doja Cat today in that studio with Kendrick Lamar, what comes out of there is going to change the world.
Okay,
as a rapper,
I agree with you. I agree with you.
She's ready. When they're not utilizing it. They're not utilizing it.
Sounds exactly like Kendrick Lamar.
That's when I said
the whole verse. I'm like,
I could be your lady. I'm a woman. I'm a no. I said,
like, even like her vocal like tones like sounded like Kendrick. I was like, whoa, okay, that's crazy.
Can you imagine the video?
Yo, okay. So I just said I would love to see a collab between, like you just said, Doja and Kendrick. Creativity would just be crazy. But then also like Doja and Tinashe would make an amazing collab.
I love Tinashe.
But since we're talking about Doja and Kendrick real quick, I think if they made it, because like people were always talking about this like with Nicki and Kendrick too, but I think Kendrick shines more on a creative song, like a storytelling creative kind of level. So I feel like it'd be really interesting to see like a Nicki Kendrick rap song, like bars. But then on the Doja side, yeah, that creativity, like a concept song or something. Yo, that'd be crazy. I've had this Nicki Kendrick dream for so long that it's almost dead in my brain. I don't know why they missing each other. I don't know. I even wanted Nicki and Cole, because I feel like that's what I want right now.
Because I feel like if Nicki hear Cole talking, she would be like, yo, skirt, and she's gonna respond to that. You know what I mean? Someone who's gonna push her in that direction. Lil Baby pushed her in this direction. It was cool, but
he's better than he's ever been. He's
the muscle. He's the muscle.
Yeah, his features he's the best feature artist right now. Him and Lil Baby are the best feature artist right now. I would love to see it right now. I would love, because I'm looking for
feature
than a Kendrick feature.
And that's my point, is from Nicki, I'm looking for the for the artist that'll put her in that space that when Kanye pushed her, when she wrote Monster and he was like, no, and then she did it again. You know, I want to see her somewhere where it's like it's a lock in with someone that's gonna push her. She's motivated by being better than another woman. We know that. When another girl's on her nerves, she gets to rap. But like I want her, when I want to look at Cole, I want to look at Kendrick, and I want her to look at Drake and being like, I'm gonna smoke your boots. I want to look at Wayne and be like, I'm gonna smoke you. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I feel, and that's where I'm really focused on.
For sure. I feel like that'd be amazing. Especially because like she said that she doesn't feel like she has to prove anything to anybody anymore. I feel like that means she can like just go in wanting to have the best verse, like just for her, like her own competitive nature. You know what I'm saying? Like, and not really have to worry about how it's going to come off or what people are going to say or whatever. Like, I feel like when artists get to that space, and this is something I've been saying about since I've been like reviewing Nicki's discography, especially after I heard Queen, because Queen was a response record to me. Like, it was just a response to everything that was going on. It wasn't anything she was
everything from Sheether to Queen. It was just like it was just a response. And Scorpion felt that way too. Yeah, we hated that. Yeah,
if we could get a record where like she's bringing us something instead of like responding to what's going on out here, and like she feels like she has nothing left to prove because she really doesn't have anything left to prove, we're like gonna get the best Nicki album we've ever heard. And I feel like based on these interviews, that's where she's at. And so I'm like really excited because I was like, that's exactly what I was saying. And she was like, she's where I was saying. And I just feel like it's going to be so good because what it reminded me of, this is when I started believing that. So when Kendrick did Good Kid, Mad City, and it was like this instant classic or whatever, and like everyone's like sophomore slump is coming because like he can't live up to Good Kid, Mad City. And he said,
I remember that
he almost didn't drop To Pimp a Butterfly. He almost scrapped it.
Yeah.
And he said that he talked to Jay-Z and he's like, should I put this out? It could flop. Like this isn't a good, like this sound doesn't go with stuff nowadays, all this kind of stuff. And Jay-Z's like, drop it now because if you get out of your box now, they can't ever put you back in it.
Yep.
And like he dropped it and like the rest is history. But I feel like he got to the point then where his next album, Damn, was the level of like, I don't care what anybody has to say anymore. Like, that's just where he was at. He's like, I know I'm the best. I know I'm the GOAT. That's where it's at.
Damn created a sound. Damn created a world. The videos, the universe. It was all the videos were similar in motif, but different. It was like the director. It was, you see what I mean? But that's the rubric right there as to how that's where the Nicki album got to go. She's not in the box, but that's what I'm talking about. It's all got to look like this. But be on the cusp of visual artistry. We're in 4K, not widescreen. I don't care if it is an old school concept, but let's update it. Let's go a little further. Yeah. You know what I mean? No, that'd be my thing. Is push.
I feel like that always happens when the artist knows that they have nothing left to prove. Like even with Kanye, I feel like even though Kanye's always like been progressive with his sound and everything, I feel like when he dropped 808s. And like that was like a different sound and everything like that. And he's like, I feel like after that, he just had this like level of creative freedom on top of the creative freedom he even had before. Which
808s was his moonwalk. It was his moonwalk. He invented something. Something happened. He put something out there that changed the culture shifts. But that's what I'm talking about. I want to see, and I want you to look for it. And we're definitely gonna talk again. But at the end of the year, I want to ask you again, what moved the culture? Because we started off talking about Adele. The reason why I say Adele was mid, the subject matter maybe didn't get with me, but the world didn't stop. It didn't move. It didn't. Does the world stop anymore? Have they stopped the world from stopping? Because has the industry stopped the world from stopping? I think it's on purpose.
Kind of saying, like, I think that was Adele was my benchmark because I was like, if
me too. I was waiting.
I was like, and if Adele's album comes and goes, then we're in trouble. That was like because it's Adele, right? And that thing came and went. Like,
and it didn't matter. The algorithm, the numbers don't matter. The algorithm just washed over it the next week. New shit, new deals, new playlisting, new like.
And it was crazy because like artists were moving their albums out of the way of Adele's and all this, and it wasn't even necessary. You know what I'm saying? Like Taylor
could have put out next week.
Taylor, what was it? Was it Red that she redid like the week
something like
before?
that? Yeah,
that's had more staying power. All Too Well had more of an impact.
Because her music is iconic.
Album. Yeah.
Because her music is grandfathered and it's iconic from a time where
it's ridiculous. Like that whole video, everything that was like a masterpiece.
Taylor Swift, her music is from a time that things were allowed to be iconic.
Yeah.
Things aren't iconic anymore.
Same thing with Adele.
Not the new stuff, but the older stuff. Absolutely. Yeah. Adele could sing Chasing Pavements around the world. It doesn't matter. She doesn't have to.
Also, the hype. It was just like because there was so much hype around Adele dropping. It's been so long. And I was like, look, the conditions are set up for this to be like a classic easily. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it just.
She sang it in front of Oprah.
And even though I love An Evening with Silk Sonic, like even that kind of like came and went. And I was surprised with that as well.
I like that album, and when I was like, I'm sitting here like Normani, like what? I'm sitting here like, yo, anybody else listen to the Silk Sonic? Everybody's like, huh? Nobody cared. Everybody, but guess what? Everybody picked up Smoking Out the Window. They picked it up and they were like, thanks.
Songs, yo.
But my favorite on the album is Blast Off. But I like a guitar riff.
Favorite now is probably After Last Night.
Fair. That's a good one too. It's a vibe. You can play it all through, but I guess I also are we getting a little bit to uncly age where that's kind of what's happening?
Oh, okay. Oh, man. That's a whole other podcast.
Like, did we just get hit? Was it for us? And that's why we dang.
I think, to be honest, like, I don't think like our age has too much to do with it, because like we're still keeping up with everything. We're not old heads as far as like we don't appreciate new artists and new music and stuff like that. So like, I don't really think that's what it is. I do feel like imagine this. Now this is our age, right? And like this could kind of be like the last topic, but
okay.
We grew up where like no phones, no streaming, CDs and the Walkmans in the pocket, right? And we'd have to listen to the same CD over and over and over and all this kind of stuff, right? And imagine you're born and you have at your disposal all this music, right? What does that do for your music consumption? It's like you like, oh, this is what came out new. I'm gonna go to this. I'm gonna go to this. I'm gonna go to that. Like, you don't have to sit with anything anymore. Like, the second you don't like something, you just take that out of your playlist and like go get something else. Like,
remember when they would sell the album off of 3 singles and the rest of the album would be mid, but you just be sitting here with your Walkman like.
It's like you wouldn't really skip the songs you didn't like either. You would just,
because it was music. To get a hold of the ability to control music was like when Apple made the skip button. It was like I tell this all the time. I have an older sister. I had a little iPod, so like I didn't have she got the video iPod. I watched the Pussycat videos, the video for the Pussycat Dolls to Buttons. Yeah. We used to be on basketball tournaments and AAU sitting in the car for hours. I watched Buttons 30,000 times. It was the only video. We watched it a trillion times. Yo, our brains are overexposed. We can just
like 106 in Park. I would watch songs I didn't like so I could get to the number one song that I did like. And I would sit through and I would watch the whole thing, even though I didn't even like it. And it's just like...
TRO, when Rock was in control and you was just like, well, I have to learn... It's here.
Yeah.
I just have to
and
sit
it's like,
and watch.
The reason why I'm bringing that up is like, I do think like we take for granted or don't really think about like being born into a world where like things are at your fingertips.
You're correct.
Like, we're used to it because like it's been a while, it's been some years. But like if that's all you know, it like would definitely affect how you consume music and like how that works. Like, it's not just streaming that's changing music as far as that goes. It's like literally like people's experience with music and like just entertainment consumption is completely different than what it used to be. And so like I think moving forward, that's what I'm saying. Like,
you're correct.
I think artists have to find a way to bring what we loved about music into the streaming world somehow. I don't think an artist has done it yet. I think a lot of the artists' pivots have been more monetary and commercial based, like making these 50-song albums so that it streams well or whatever. But like no one's like
playing the game, but rather than just impacting people. Like
like when Kanye did Pablo.
Yeah,
it was like this living album, and it was like the first only digital album or something
I
like
that.
It was
but I like that album.
Yeah, and he was like updating it and stuff like that. Like he was trying to take, like what's an album look like in the digital era, right? No one's doing that with streaming, like only from a commercial aspect. I
think it's because
artistic aspect.
And I just said this on Twitter, but it's because of the way it's pivoted. And I don't know until an artist decides, like Taylor Swift was like, my music isn't streamable. When she did that, can't stream it. Pulled it off Spotify. Then that gave her, it didn't work, but it gave an option where an artist can say, I can survive off of my market share and it's possible. The problem is, as long as, and we saw Spotify with the Joe Budden thing, when the artists pulling their music off Spotify was a big deal, is the industry is not built for the artist to say, I don't want my shit to stream. I don't want to. And because the artist is afraid that they won't see money from it being bought, and because it's set up where if you don't get playlisted, you don't get promo. because it's about business. So the record labels and the streaming companies do business over the artist's head for the streaming rights to the music, and you get paid that way through everybody. Nikki, someone like Nikki who just sold 100,000 or however many she sold on her website, that's just between the consumer and the label. So the system's not going to reward you just buying music. The system's going to reward the streams, which is impacting the whole creative process, which is the reason why things aren't going to move the needle, because next Friday, new music, new music, new music. Next Friday, new music, new music, new music. And I feel like the artists don't understand that running the race is the burnout. It's the burnout. So you got somebody like Rihanna who's like, yeah, you'll get your album, but she knows next Friday is coming from whenever she puts out the album. It's going to be another Friday.
Okay, we got to end on that right there. That was
and they're going to steamroll it. It's going to be another Friday. Things, they don't allow things to mean much anymore. We want impact. So they tanked our industry for their benefit. That's all I got.
I mean, that was a quote right there.
That's the game.
I'm gonna watch it back, but you said like I'm gonna watch it back. Oh my God, yo, that was a quote. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess to sum up everything we're talking about, it's pretty simple. Moving forward, we want that heart, we want that soul, we want that passion behind it, and we want that impact.
And we're speaking about the artists of today, but we have a lot of fans who are younger. We have a lot of people who knows in 5 years who will be on that VMA stage. So we are talking about them, but really we are talking to you, because me and you, we're creatives too, and we create from the heart. And people, and we sacrifice a lot because we have to play with our heart. We want the same from our artists, where it comes like, you can't always be worried about what is happening or what things sound like. Just resonate with yourself and find people and fans that resonate with you. Try your best to stay true to that person, because the machine's going to try to strip you of that. It just wants to.
There you go. That's
the game
right there.
So just create from yourself. Just be yourself, and just win or lose on your own heart.
Yes, definitely.
It's worth it.
Man. Well, if y'all liked this podcast episode of Foster Conversation, once again, it'll be awesome. Hit that subscribe, follow wherever you're watching and listening. This episode was awesome. But yo, Brandon, definitely shout out, where people can follow you, all that kind of stuff. Plug time. Well,
first of all, thank you for having me. Thank you so much. Thank you for doing all that you do. My name is Brendan, aka 20 Days of June. I do I do content like this where I talk about what music means, what pop culture means, and how we as people learn through lyrics and music about ourselves, our relationships, and our favorite artists. So if you like me, follow me on YouTube, Twitter, patreon.com/20 Days of June. I'm there, and I'm on the internet, guys. 20 Days of June everywhere. So if you know me, you know me.
Yes. And no, thank you definitely for coming on. This was like an amazing conversation. And now I definitely know why we share a similar audience, because definitely everything you just said about lyrics and life and everything like that, that's why I love art to begin with. It just has this level of stories are everything. Writing is everything. And so definitely. But yeah, y'all, until next time, we'll see y'all.